Hi, I'm Hope Witkowsky, your host of Senior Scene. Marriage is one of the greatest events that we can have in life. The bride and groom march down the aisle. Later on, maybe they buy a new house. Maybe they have children. It's just marvelous. But what happens when that bride and groom are in their 60s and 70s? Today, we're going to go visit a newlywed who are showing us how life after 50, 60, 70 and living happily ever after can happen anytime to anyone. Barbara Siegel is one very independent senior. She admits that she made one mistake in her life that ended in a quick divorce.
I raised my son by myself, and my job was to be a mother to a wonderful, wonderful young man who grew into an amazing man, and for which I'm so proud. Then I taught, and I ended up with 3 jobs. So I'm running to play at a church, I'm running and choir practices, I'm running to play at Temple, and at that time we were at, we belonged to Temple Sinai in Glendale, so I would put Josh in the car, and somewhere along the line he'd fall asleep, and he'd fall asleep during services, and I wore slippers, and I'd carry him back up the stairs when he was a young boy until he got too big to carry, and then teaching tons of students. So never crossed my mind to remarry.
She is very proud of that life she lived and how, as a single mother, she raised a son that she's very proud of.
I am very proud that I was able to make certain that my son had all the activities and all the opportunities that he should have, whether it's in a two-parent household or a single-parent household. Difficult to put into words, but I was independent. I had no one to rely on.
Bob Dworkin is also a divorcee who's had somewhat identical story to Barbara. He became a single father at 30 years old. His story of becoming a father was very inspirational.
We ended up adopting 3 kids. We adopted 2 boys that were natural brothers through Vista Del Mar, which is part of Jewish Federation. And then it's kind of a long story, but people we met while we were members of Temple Ner Tamid in Palos Verdes had 2 girls the same age as our 2 boys, and we were carpooling, and my wife had told her we never had an infant because we adopted the boys older. 5 years later, we got a call from her. She had married an attorney. They moved to Bullhead City. They had a legal practice there, and they were in the building with a gynecologist. There were only 2 offices. And he came around the office, into their office one day and said, "You know anybody that wants to adopt a baby? This woman came in, she wanted to abort her child, and the child is too far along. I won't do it. So do you know anybody who wants to adopt a child?" And the woman remembered what my wife had told her. We got a phone call. We waited out the pregnancy. We went, stayed at their house the day the baby was born, and we took her home in 3 days.
Bob, like Barbara, divorced after 5 years of marriage. While he kept his daughter and his ex-wife took the 2 sons, he too is very proud of the job he did as a single father. And whether it was the common bond of their love for their children or the fact that they both divorced early on into their previous marriage, fate would have it that these 2 would meet.
My wonderful husband showed up one day at my door with a single piece of paper in his hand. He had called and had gotten my number from the music store, and he wanted to learn to play piano. And he showed up with not books, but just a piece of paper, and this is the song that I want to play. And it became apparent very quickly that he had no idea what he was doing. And it wasn't long after that, within a month, about a month, that we started dating, and the piano lessons disappeared, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Bob, however, recalls how the famous meeting came about in a different way.
I had played piano in high school. As a matter of fact, we had a little band. Never got paid for doing anything, but we did a bunch of stuff. And then I gave it up at one point. And at this point, being alone, I was by myself by then. Boys were gone. My daughter was gone. I said I wanted to go back and take piano lessons. And at the same time, as opposed to my wife, I'd been single for about 10 years, and it was like, it's enough. It's about time to meet somebody again. So I had friends who would, invite me and somebody over to their house for dinner, and I'd try and meet some people and go some places, meet some people. And at the same time, I wanted to start piano lessons, picked up her card from Marshall Music, called her, went over there, and started looking around the house. And you see in her house, she's got pictures of her mother, and she's got pictures of her son, no pictures of a husband. So without knowing for sure, one day after a lesson, I asked her out.
It's a wonderful thing when two seniors in their 60s and 70s both decide that they will give dating a try. But if you haven't had the same opportunity to meet as Bob and Barbara had, it's never too late.
We went out to Kincaid's for our first date. And at the end of the meal, the waiter comes over and says, your dinner's been picked up. And we looked at him kind of funny. And he said, yeah, that couple over there has paid for your dinner. It turned out to be a client of mine that was at Kincaid's at the same time. And he bought us dinner, which I thought was interesting. Anyway, it was time for me. I was really looking for somebody. And we do think a lot alike about things, and it was very comfortable. And so we started going out seriously and ended up getting married.
One can't help from smiling when witnessing their interaction and their infectious laughter. What do you guys do for fun?
She likes to get in a car and drive someplace. Go on, what she calls an adventure. So how do you want to go in a car in Los Angeles to face traffic and think it's fun? I don't get the same feeling.
We don't do that very often.
We don't do that
No,
often.
no. Tell her what we do when we spend most of our time. We watch football. Oh my God.
She has become a football
Oh
fan.
my God. We overdosed on football over Christmas vacation and all of the bowl games. I jokingly think that I'm going to quit my job, and I've learned the football referee signals, and I'm going to coach football jokingly. And we sit there and I'm screaming at the televisions and at the big screens. And
You can't take her out because she'll sit in the middle of a restaurant and start screaming at the TV. It's hilarious.
when we were first dating, and he took me to a football game, and that was the first time that I had ever been to the Coliseum and went to a football game. And in return, he bought tickets. This was before Walt Disney Hall and concerts were at the Music Center. He bought tickets to surprise me, and I think we sat in the third row, sixth row of a piano concert at the Music Center, and he took me to that. He probably fell asleep, but that's okay. It was the thought that counted, and that mattered, so.
Seeing the humor these seniors share for each other is infectious. It is a perfect recipe for a happy life together.
One of the things that was supposed to happen, I was supposed to calm her down, and she was supposed to generate me. She hasn't calmed down at all.
No.
I've completely failed at this job.
Romantic deeds stay alive for these seniors. This romance is an inspiration, showing how love can come to you no matter what your age.
If we walk someplace, we hold hands. That's
We
the
do.
rule. We hold hands.
We do. He brings me flowers. I like flowers, and on occasion he'll bring me flowers, but he's
And
right.
once in a while, ice cream.
And ice cream. Oh yes, he'll surprise me, and he'll buy a container of ice cream and put it in the freezer with some note. He'll put a note on the container of ice cream, and did I look in the freezer yet? And there's something for me. So So that's a treat.
They share not only the love of watching football games, but both love to travel, making each other great companions on the road.
Love to go cruising.
We love to cruise. We love cruises. We do. It's so, there was a time when my job was so stressful because of my commitment to students, to playing, to accompanying, to directing, that when we can get on a cruise ship, we just so relax and we just sit together and enjoy that time away.
You can hear her voice. It kind of reduces, 5 or 6 decibels when you go and she relaxes. She just, you can really see
It's
it.
true. But I just want to tell you what Bob said about the benefits of being together. It really is. And even when we have a disagreement, it's still better that we are together than being alone.
No matter your age, 30, 50, or even 70, there is love out there. Bob and Barbara show and tell us that happily ever after can happen more than once, no matter your age.
It's a partner that fits. It's not just a partner.
Oh, absolutely.
There's got to be some synergy. It can't be just another person because it might be more annoying than pleasant being together. So it's got to be the right person. But it's definitely better with somebody.
We think that we fit well together. We fit well together in terms of our height, and when we cuddle, it's just, we feel a real connection to each other.
Barbara and Bob are a perfect example of what happily ever after can mean to people of any age. We really thank them for letting us share their happiness with you. I'm Hope Witkowsky reminding you, knowledge, it's a powerful tool. Tune in next time for more secrets on successful aging.